Hi, this is Ken Jeong of the Darkest Timeline podcast, and I just want to say throughout most of the episode, unfortunately, Joel McHale's screen froze, and we weren't able to fix it until it was too late. We didn't really know at the end of the podcast that this was happening. So on behalf of the podcast, we apologize for this technical difficulty, and Joel feels really bad. And in fact, he wanted to apologize himself, but I wouldn't let him because I wanted to have this over him, and I wanted to hang this over his head for just a little while, just so he knows in our triumphant return, he screwed up. Joel messed up, and we'll have a lot to address on the next podcast. But on behalf of the podcast, we apologize and enjoy. Welcome to the Darkest Timeline podcast. Ken Jeong, Joel McHale, and really welcome back. Just really appreciate all the, all the emails and all, and everyone on social media. As you know, we took a bit of a hiatus due to the situation, and we wanted just to take a couple of weeks off just to kind of process everything, and we really, I think that it's still hard for me to talk about. Still nerve-wracking just kind of coming back on air and just talking about it, because it's, you can take a break all you want, but it's still there. It's still there. I mean, Atlanta just happened, and all my love, thoughts, and prayers to all affected in Atlanta and nationwide. Just so much has changed in the last 2 weeks. Has it changed? And is it just everybody catching up? Everybody catching up that, that A, Black Lives Matter, B, that there needs to be a restructuring of the system, and C, there's no government that really is doing anything to unite us. And we're all having to be our own leaders, and we're all having to think for ourselves, which is not always a bad thing, but it'd be great if we had at least a leader to set a tone and at least to address it. But that's, that's what we're doing, and that's why, quite frankly, that's why we're back. So, it's funny, like, right when we start, as of this recording, Atlanta is happening, and it's just a sobering reminder that life is a series of moments. As much as, I don't know, like we're actors, and we like to think of life as a script, that there's a beginning, middle, and end, that we can get to a climactic third act, or wait till the storm resolves, and then life goes on. And it is just a series of moments. But one of the two take-home points is A, there's still a pandemic, and B, Black Lives Matter, and C, there needs to be reformation of the system, systemically. And again, my thoughts, loves, prayers go to all involved. I mean, it really, even though it's only been a couple of weeks, it seems like we haven't really connected in like 3 months, Joel, right? It's just crazy.
Well, I've never really connected to you, and I don't know anybody else who has. But no, but you're right. I mean, it wasn't time. I didn't want to go on, and it wasn't time to hear celebrities talking about anecdotal stories. And you said it. Systemic racism is alive and well in our country, and it is a scar that needs to be corrected and
healed.
And the police and that system needs to be reimagined, because even as a kid, even into college, this professor was like, I had the talk from my dad, and then you hear about this thing called the talk, where you're like, this is how you act around police officers, and you keep your hands on the wheel. And that was just mind blowing to me. And I just was like, oh, that's right. I am part of a system that I didn't realize that I was even a part of. And that is a white privilege. And that has to be completely exposed. And I think when you see the diversity in the crowds that are protesting, it's wonderful and great, sadly at the cost of so many lives. And George Floyd's murder is a catalyst that I hope is going to change all that. And the police are one part of this system that has to be reimagined. And yeah, that's that people need to do the work. The white people need to do the work, and it will only make, everyone knows it. It will only make the country way better and way stronger and the greatest. So it has been a rough 2 weeks, but I hope it is the catalyst for reimagining how our system has operated up until now, because domestic terrorism against black people has been going on for 400 years.
Yeah, I just think it's a combination of, COVID, pandemic, frustration from unemployment, quarantine, fatigue, and inherent systemic unrest, and it's all kind of snowballed. And again, at the end of the day, we need leadership that says, that is whose instinct should be to unite and calm, and that there's just because we've gone dark, we have been vocal, we have been active, and I just think that to me it really is just trying to, kind of, for me, just to calm down my own emotions, and there's still there's so, I've just never been in, and none of us have ever been in a situation where, like, I mean, you're talking about, like, medically speaking, and then politically speaking, just so much chaos. 80% of Americans believe that we're in chaos right now. 80%. That's 4 out of 5 people, in this country believe that we are in chaos. And it's just, I don't know, man. I don't know. It really is beyond frustrating, that we cannot have, and I'm speaking right now with COVID, we still don't have a system in place. We're reopening haphazardly. There's not like a scale back plan. Like, okay, how do we scale back in case there's a tide? I don't know. Every state's different. Maybe they do have plans of like phases and go back into phases. But it would help to have some federal guidelines. And like what Daniel Day Kim said, when you're arriving in, like when you fly into another country, like there will be a COVID protocol. When you fly in the United States, there's nothing.
That's incredible. If you fly to Australia or New Zealand or South Korea right now, it's 2 weeks quarantine, right?
Yeah,
and
New Zealand,
so many other countries.
And New Zealand, where they're declared COVID-free. New Zealand, and so they're like they're lifting restrictions of social media. Social media. I'm sorry. Do you hear a buzzing? Can you cut this, Andrew? Do you hear a buzzing? Hello?
I don't hear a buzzing.
I hear some weird echo. I think it was my pool. I think it was my swimming pool.
You sure you want to cut that part?
I'm muting myself.
Oh, God.
Are they doing the Esther Williams dancing in the pool right now?
I just want to say, I just want to say, you know, I'm a man of the people, and that I'm really connected. My pool guy's here. Good Lord.
Boy, I hope it's a saltwater
Good
pool.
Lord. You realize I'm a physician like 14 years removed. You know what I mean? Just come on. I need a bit of a reality check. I'm literally... I'm just a guy who's the dumbest judge on The Masked Singer. #1 show, by the way. And then also just a guy who's been in, you know, hangover movies and the best comedy, you know, the best TV comedy of all time, Community with You. So that's pretty much my essence right now. I'm an iconic over actor. Am I really qualified to?
I just think
anything?
When you left medicine 14 years ago, if you think about it, life expectancy has crept up since you left.
Life expectancy?
I mean, overall in America. So the world. So thank you for leaving.
Is that why I got a plaque from the world of medicine? They just gave me a commemorative plaque.
Is it up there?
Or did they just give me some lifesavers as like a double entendre? You know.
I don't know. Is it next to your Guy's Choice Award?
It's the Spike Awards, but actually it is a Guy's Choice Awards.
So, Ken, it's still, to go back to COVID for a second, I know that it is so strange to me when I look at how many are on the planet, and then I look at our country, and we're still like, we got a third of the cases. I know Brazil is making its way, but it's
Brazil, I think, is #2 right now in terms of mortality. Yeah, in terms of mortality, I think so. And it's still like it boggles my mind a bit that the reopening that's up to each state. It's still strange to me that it's not a unified response. And I know everything we say is politically charged, and people go like, "How dare you?" And you know what? I take exception to that. It's not politically charged. It's medically charged. It's not denying science charged. It's humanitarian charged. It doesn't matter to me. The political affiliation at this point. We're in a pandemic, and I'm not looking for, oh my God, we only need a Green Party solution to solve this pandemic problem.
Right.
We need like a scientific solution to solve this pandemic problem. And so anyone who can help, I am open. Yes. I am completely open to ideas and ideologies. Medicine itself, it's not too long ago, the AMA was, like when I was in medicine, it was regarded as a conservative group, relatively speaking. So to me, it's all about the science. It's like the paradigm has shifted in my head, at least. It's not a party line. It's not a party line issue. I'm not looking to get reelected, unlike some people. And it's just, to me, the biggest irony is in order to get reelected, one should do their job, which is to govern, and we're not being governed.
Yeah, I just don't understand how, like, my brother's in Washington State and he's in Spokane, and his friends go into Idaho and they can do whatever. You can go to the spa, you can go to restaurants, everything's fine, and go right back into Washington State that's under much more of a lockdown. And then I go like, how is this a plan? How is this going to work? We're just going to have, as you said, we know the science. We know the thing, how easily it's transmitted. And I just don't know how it's not going to stop anytime. And then unless we do this herky-jerky herd immunity where 200,000 people will be dead by August. But we're going to, I don't know, do we get to herd immunity by everyone just kind of haphazardly going about their business in different ways? I don't know.
No, we get to herd immunity by vaccine. We need a vaccine. Yeah. And, and there is buried under all the events that are going on right now, I think there is promise. There is, I think the CEO of AstraZeneca announced that, that progress is being made on the vaccine, that they're the
ones in phase 2.
Yeah, well, they're the ones that will be distributing the Oxford vaccine, to the United States, and so they will be. I'm sorry, this pool thing is just like
I can't hear it.
It literally, yeah, it
Just
literally sounds like a dog sexually moaning right now, and it's just like
for those of you tuning in, I don't want you to think Southern California has like more pools per capita than anywhere else. I don't want you to think that Ken is just, sitting in some palace, but Ken does have 4 pools, which pisses me off.
4 pools. Yeah.
And he has a lazy river and a wave machine. It looks like Mandalay
I have 4
Bay
pools that I rotate because I rotate every other day. And they're like, how do you do 4 pools every other day? Well,
they're all different
days a week,
temperatures,
as
right?
the Beatles say. So, yeah. Anyway, I just like my whole rant is undermined by the sound going on in my pool. I just think that's why we went dark for 2 weeks. Because no one wants to hear what celebrities have to say. I'd like to say, I'm a guy who was educated, went to Duke, went to med school, yada, yada, yada. I think that part is just gone. I think that part is just gone.
That's
now.
Fine. You should embrace it. You should wear a lot more jewelry and just really just redesign that room ostentatiously, like a lot of marble. And I think it would be cool, man. Or maybe do it from your garage in front of, but you got to get a way better car than that Mercedes E-Class.
Should we just do another reimagining of Imagine right now? Just you and me?
I would do that.
Like just you and me, just do maybe a better song, maybe like Jodeci, maybe like Lately. Maybe should you and I just do like an a cappella version of...
But we can only do like 10 seconds before we have to pay for it, right? Andrew knows that. 10 seconds?
Look, that's above my pay grade. I don't know these things. I'm just talent. So,
how about something by Tony?
If I Had No Loot is, I think, not yet public domain. So I think that we have to pay. We could do a very earnest version, of Happy Birthday now that is public domain. Happy Birthday is public domain. Oh man, good
Jeez.
Lord. I mean,
we've already, But here's something I read about COVID though. Going back to it, have you think this thing about blood type? About how type A
if you're like blood type A.
And is that I read?
Then I read another article that and it's not a scientific article that said like blood type O. I mean, like I said
I read it that blood type O was less susceptible.
Yeah.
What about O negative? That's what I
am. What am I?
Does that mean I turn into a dragon?
Say it again. O negative. I don't know. I don't know. So I don't know. Look, I got problems with my pool, man. I got a lot of stuff going on, dude.
You have some algae?
I got stuff with my pool, my jacuzzi. The heat is just way off. The lights in my pool are just scattershot. I got problems.
What about the sound system?
The sound system, it only plays Tony. That's the thing. I'm trying to get
that's a great thing.
It's a great thing. But, I'm human. I just want to listen
some variety.
To other things.
You want Color Me Bad in there. You want all the ones from the early 90s.
I like there was a photo of you and I.
Does Bismarcky ever play?
Bismarcky, I don't know. I don't
There's
know.
a photo of you and me where?
There was a photo of us at Robin Thicke's birthday party, and I captioned it.
He is such a better judge than you, by the way. Go ahead.
Yeah, because he actually has talent. And he's actually a musician, and we're at his birthday party, and literally I captioned "Color Me Bad Reunion."
That was good. Yes,
that was one of my. Oh man,
the Color Me Bad. I think they actually, I think they valeted your car. They have a monopoly of valet. They have a big valet business in LA.
I
hope your pool gets worked out before. Soon, right?
I just like the fact that it. Look,
how's your pool house?
Huh?
You have a pool house? How's the pool house?
The pool house is great. The other 4 pools are comme ci comme ça, as they say en français. But it really is. Okay. I just like the fact that the pool has undermined this whole podcast right now.
Just so you know, I don't know if it's gonna be. At some point, Ken kind of lost his mind, like he had walked into a spider web. Where it was like, can you guys hear that? And then I could see and I start looking around, And then Andrew's, our producer's like, he's like, I don't hear
and I
anything.
think I said I was gonna. I think I was gonna say. I said social media. I think I meant something else. And I just want to say, there's been so much disruption on social media. Can you hear me? Can you hear? Just got insane. My God. I think I'm the reason why Community got canceled. I just think these kind of random things.
That.
Huh?
I'm not going to disagree with that.
Ken, you were right up there with all the other guest stars, as he would say every
day. For someone who was 13th on the call sheet, you really brought
Why did the numbers keep going down month after month?
When you were 27th on the call sheet and you worked your way up to 20, I was like, man, he's really great. It's a depth chart. That's how the call sheets work. It's just like who was funniest the last week. They're like, oh, man. Gillian really stepped up last week. She's already up. She's up to 3. Happy birthday to Gillian's mom, by the way.
Oh yeah, that was the nicest thing. I think so. Did you send Gillian's mom
Yes, I sent Gillian's mom some beer called Pliny the Elder, and which is my all-time favorite double IPA. You couldn't handle it, Ken. And since I know that Heineken Light is one of the better beers with 3% alcohol.
It's the best beer as far as I'm concerned.
It's literally the best beer on the planet for you, right? Heineken Light.
Oh, absolutely.
And, I mean, it's right up there with the alcohol
better than
content.
Everything else that you're saying. So.
Coke Zero, right? So, anyway, that I sent her some of that beer, which is it's a magical beer that smells like flowers. And even though it's a double IPA, it's very light. Again, you could handle about a thimbleful before your North Carolina hat would be turned backwards, and as you would call it, your rally cap, and you would be in my pool clothed.
There's an old photo of you and the cast trying to throw me in a dumpster. You remember that? Like its first season? I'll post that somewhere. I literally had...
Yeah, but that was off camera. That was
actually, that's right. That was just when I first met you.
Yeah, you just that's when we sent that to Ted Danson, hoping he would come on the show. Like, look what we did with Ken.
Oh man! Yeah. By the way, nice headphones. Like, you look.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think the silver.
This is a leather detail.
Yeah, I like how the silver and brown just kind of.
Well, it's that song from the Silver and
speaking of Silver Throat himself.
Silver Throat.
What's
Keith
happening?
David. How are you doing, sir?
I'm good, man. How you guys?
Oh, we're doing. It's much better that you're here because now I don't have to talk to Joel as much. So that's really that's really nice. And to hear your golden voice is even better. So
I think we have to pay for his. This is actually becomes a voiceover session for Keith because people can steal the audio Keith, and just put it into their. This isn't
Halo. I don't want to hear from your lawyers. This isn't Gargoyles. This isn't any of the voices that you do on any of these amazing games. This is just a podcast. I don't want to hear from your attorneys just suing us for using your voice. Please, as a friend.
We're just cooling out.
Well, by the way, Keith was on our 6th season of Community, and it was really, and a lot of people ask me, what was your favorite season, and I definitely think season 6 was right up there, and it might be because that season was so unique because we were on Yahoo. We were canceled by NBC and then brought back. And then, Dan Harmon introduced Paget Brewster and Keith David, 2 new characters, basically just reintroduced 2 brand new characters. 20% of the show was added, and we didn't miss a beat. It was really, it was a magical. It was a magical season where I just truly enjoyed working with you again because we had actually worked together on Joel's favorite movie that he likes to pick on me, All About Steve. You and I actually worked together. That's when,
I'm so sorry.
That's when I first met you on All About Steve. That was like literally my second movie coming out of like retirement when I retired as a doctor. Or Joel said I was disbarred.
Weren't you in the Compton movie, Christmas in Compton? Did you do that?
I was not in that movie. Not that I try to remember.
Okay. It's funny because usually you claim to be in other movies.
With Keith, I have to be honest. With Keith, I just like being honest, and you're the only soul I will be completely transparent with.
So Joel, what have you been up to, man?
Oh, well, I've been trying to get All About Steve 2 off the ground, but
he's been busy. His grassroots campaign.
It's been very difficult, and Sandy, as I like to call her, Sandy Bullock, she won't return my calls, and Ken gave me her number, and yeah, she's not on board. So
I did not. If Sandra Bullock is listening, I did not give Joel.
Thank you for her number and
seriously,
address.
Keith, isn't Sandra Bullock she's like one of the nicest people, one of the kindest
She's
people
like
in the world.
The sweetest people, and she's so pretty.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
But,
She's like a movie star.
What I really like about her the most is she's the kind of attractive that you would think she wouldn't be good. It's Hollywood, so it's going to be fluff, but she really brings it.
Yeah.
She's really a good actor. She really is. I mean, when she's very funny, but like I also did a Crash. Crash.
That's right. That's right. She was great.
And she was great. I mean, she just pulls it out, and it's like, if she makes me proud to be an actor, that's what I like. I love when I see that.
Yeah, I remember because Sandra had said that in interviews, what do you think about Ken? He goes, Ken, and she goes, I don't even mean this as a compliment. He honestly looks like he can't believe he's here, because it's like it was literally the second movie that I had done. I was so nervous and green, and she actually left a message. She left a message while we were filming saying, like, you're just doing a great job, just so encouraging, and just so like it. Yeah. I saved that message for like the longest time, because she really helped discover me, and she would tell other people, work with this guy. She was very much like Judd Apatow, that would just kind of early on my career, that would be like, work with Ken. He's a good, so I'm just indebted to her, for, really for my career, because it literally wasn't long after I quit my job that I had booked that role on All About Steve and had met you, and it was just so exciting. So it was,
and that movie was just huge.
I'm glad I can't see Joel on this this call right now. And
you can't see me?
No, I can't. And I'm really happy that I can't.
He dropped out for a second. Now he's back. So
now I can. But it was even sweeter to see you on Community. Like I think it was 7 years later, man. And how did you get the part of Elroy on Community?
It was one of those, kind of gift jobs where, I mean, I think I had done some animated series with Dan, and the next thing I knew, I get this, message about, well, there's this character on Community. Would you be interested? And I'm like, yeah. And next thing I know, I was there, and it was like, the one thing was so great is when you come into a situation where people have been doing it forever, everybody's got their own rhythm, everybody's, they've got their allegiances and everything, but I thought you guys was just so wonderfully welcoming. I mean, I think both Paget and I both felt, welcome to the club. It was so warm and fuzzy.
Mm.
I mean, I just I deeply appreciated that because, like I said, this is Hollywood, and you don't get that stuff.
I couldn't believe you. I couldn't believe we got you. That was like when they said you're coming. I was like, but why is he out of money? What's happening? How did we? Because obviously you did Pillows and Blankets.
Yeah, was that the
right,
first time you had
right.
met Dan? Like it was season 3. It was a Pillow Blanket Fort episode.
Right.
The documentary episode.
And that's when I kind of started, watching it because it was like, I love smart comedy. I mean, slapstick. I can just leave it, but.
So you're not a big fan of Ken.
Smart. And I love that. I mean, and it was like this is good shit. I'm like, wow, this stuff is funny, and it's offbeat and it's weird. It had everything to me, and it had so many great fans. I mean,
yeah,
I do a lot of the Comic-Con kind of things, and I do have a community shot, on my table.
Oh wow!
And sometimes when I run out, if I don't have it, they'll say, "Do you have anything from Community?" I'm like,
"Wow,
really? Wow!" So I was very happy to be doing it.
When you go to Comic-Con, what is the most is it Mass Effect or Halo that's most popular, or what? Or
it all depends. I mean,
Spawn.
I got a Spawn is very popular. Gargoyles is very popular. I get a lot of The Thing and They Live.
Yes.
They must just, when you walk in, do they try to just touch the hem of your garment so they can? I don't know if there's anybody with more intersecting things for Comic-Con where, like some people have they have one thing. Like, what are you from? I'm like, well, I'm from Outlander, and that's it, which is a great show. But you look at there's nothing. You cover just about every show that you can possibly be on that would cover Comic-Con. So, do you sit for 48 hours signing stuff?
I always have a great time because I do have a great cross section of stuff, and the ironic thing is, I'll run out of something or I won't bring something this time. Maybe it didn't sell as much last time or whatever, for whatever reason. Whatever I don't bring, I get asked for the most that weekend.
Right.
Yeah. It's crazy, but it's when I first started doing them, they were kind of, it goes from the sublime to the ridiculous. But it's so nice that there's so many people who pay attention to the littlest thing. Somebody will say, well, in season 5, you said so and so and so and so and so and so. What did that mean? I'm like, I don't know. Whatever you think it means,
I don't remember.
By the way, yeah, I follow you on social media, and I loved your Instagram video. It was really moving.
Like many of you out there, I'm mad as hell. This is why Colin Kaepernick took a knee, to address this very situation. Now, you want your voice to be heard? You want your rage to count? Let's do everything we can to stay safe during this pandemic, so we have the means to get 45 out.
Well, you remember the End of School Days? Spike Lee's movie.
Yeah, I remember End of School Days.
And he just comes out, "Wake up, people! Wake up!"
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like if there was ever a time for that moment in a film to be repeated, it's now. It's like, people, we have to wake up to the fact that, nobody, no human being on this earth gets by themselves. We need each other to get by. We get by with a little help from our friends. And, you know, the more we keep this them and us mentality, the more trouble we're going to be in. When something as horrible as what happened happens to one man, it happens to all of us, because you're next. It may not look like it because of this, you know, the one thing about the thing that they call racial prejudice, and the thing that they try to disguise behind whatever the ugliness of racism is, it's really it's a human ugliness. It looks like me today. It has looked like me for 400 years, but if you examine what it is, that evil, that ugliness, it happens to other people too. It's just that the technicolorness of it makes it seem like you can't be next, especially when it comes to police brutality. You know, it's much more dramatic in the newspapers when, you know, and it's real. Another black man gets killed by a cop. For what? For nothing. For the sake of being cruel. And if you look back on it, it is a throwback from slavery days when they had slave catchers, and they used to wear those little badges, and to let you know that they were working, you know, for the law. It was just a bounty hunter, you know. And it's the same mentality that's going on today. And, you know, like I said, your kid could be next. It won't get the media press that George has been getting. It won't be that same thing. But it might.
Yeah.
And as long as you can separate yourself and say, oh well, you know, it may, you know, and for, you know, this stupid woman, he was a criminal. He was doing, you know, he was a human being. He was already handcuffed and caught. There was no reason just to throw him in the car. If you want to put him in jail, you want to incarcerate him, do that. But to kill him and in front of people, you see, that means that, you know. And that's the thing, it's the blatant, in your face, I don't give a shit about you or anyone else. He saw himself being filmed and, you know, crossed his arms and, you know, he's just chilled out. You know, I mean, that anybody could be that casual about taking someone's life. That's a stain on humanity. And, you know, I mean, what has America come to? Well, it's not coming to anything. America has been like this for a long time. Now you're seeing it. Now it's in your face. Now, you know, if you want to stay swimming in the river of denial, you're just a fool. You cannot deny, you know, it's not black people making too much of anything. This was the life of a human being that was unnecessarily snuffed out because of the hatred and ism of a bunch of, I don't want to say that word on the air, but you know what I mean.
Do you think the response to George Floyd's murder is different than how the past has been with?
Well, I mean, yes, it's definitely different because do you remember? I don't remember his name. You know, the brother that was shot running away from the cop car.
I think it was Walter Scott.
You know, yeah, and that was on tape. They weren't. Nothing happened to those guys. So many things get caught on tape. I mean, they're you know, everybody's got a phone cam now, so you see them happening, and nothing happens. They get smacked on the pee-pee. You know, I mean, that is the shit that's got to stop.
Yep.
I mean, come on.
Yeah, the qualified immunity is basically that they pretty much are sure that they're not going to be prosecuted at all, or very lightly.
Yeah, well, that's what this whole movement is about. It's time for that to stop, and it's time to stop across the board. I mean, enough is enough. I mean, and it's like, and like I said, you cannot continue to think it's them and us. It's not them and us. You see, if you allow the powers that be to continue letting things like that go, what's going to be next? Your civil liberties are in danger. This is as fascist as you can get.
Yeah.
For me, as a Asian American, and who was born in the United States, you know, I was always taught by my father, who is a professor. He was a retired economics professor at North Carolina A&T State University, and he just which is predominantly African American school, and one of the biggest schools in North Carolina. And he just, from a young age, he always just taught me, it's just, if it wasn't, we as a community would not enjoy our civil liberties if it wasn't for the African American community. We would not be able to enjoy the freedoms and the rights that we have. And for me, it's so complex, yet it's so simple. We need a government right now whose instinct is to unite and to heal, as opposed to ignore, deny, and divide, and then on so many levels. And I think there's now, because of this pandemic, there's become this systemic frustration, from medicine to civil unrest to unemployment. To live in this world at this time is, I just never imagined.
All the things that 45 said he would take care of. This is what taking care of it looks like.
Yeah, no plan.
You know, his only goal is to get reelected, and he misses the point of, like, the only way to get reelected is to do your job well. You know, it's just simple as that. It's just, you know, and all these, you know, all these other, I really, it's my great hope that it becomes crystal clear that you cannot let this man continue. He has got to get out. You've got to get rid of him. And the thing is, Joe Biden, Joe Blow, doesn't matter who comes into the office next, is not going to be able to repair the damage that has been done in a term of 4 years, because the same powers that be that keep him held up here are not in the repair mode. They could have forced him to do something better. They haven't. They allow him to wreak havoc. So it's gonna take a mighty wind to make the changes necessary that we need as a united people.
Yeah.
As an America that we want to live in. If not, you know, I shudder to think about what the world will look like with another term of this guy.
I mean, I think it's, it's pretty obvious to me that that certain movements have evolved, and it's just and then Trump wants to just kind of ignore it to keep things incredibly retro for re-election. And it's just but I just feel like there's a tide turning where it to me is no longer a political statement anyone's making. It's a humanity statement. We're all making. Well, it's a humanity statement. It's something that honestly, what inspired us to do this podcast was the fact that we're in a pandemic, and for all of us, work had stopped, and we wanted to talk about COVID because of my background as a physician. But then, never in a million years did I imagine that it would evolve into something else, into something more disturbing. So it to me, we can't ignore it. We're in a situation where we can't, we have to address it, or at least have to listen. So I don't know. I just
it starts with listening. You have to listen. But it's gotten beyond that. You have to be the change that you want to see in the world. It's not about talking. Yeah. We've had this conversation. Part of you want to talk about if you want to shift the focus of why people are looting. Looting is not the solution, but it is indicative of people not doing anything once they listen, once they hear, but you're not listening. Mm-hmm. Because the difference needs to be made economically. You have to be a solution, or you continue to be a problem. It should say government for the people who are in charge, not for the people at large, because that's not true. That hasn't been true forever. It didn't. It way before it got this bad. That hasn't been true. That's why it's gotten this bad.
Mm-hmm. And I think Cory Booker he quoted Martin Luther King, and I'll get it wrong, but he basically, Martin Luther King, when he was in jail, was like, "I'm not worried about the KKK. I'm worried about the people that don't care and are not responding." Those are the people that if they go back to business as usual, that's most people, and people have to do the work. People have to do the work, and you're right, make the change. They make the world they want to see. You want this, then start now. And there's like that Dante quote where in the Inferno, where they said, there's a special place in hell for people who don't take a stand during a moral quandary. And it's one of the worst places in hell if you just don't do anything. And I was like, yep, that's what we got to do here.
Yes.
Then you have to take whatever is given you and live with the fact that you did have a choice. You could have said something, but you did not. Your choice, when people, and especially in our community, if you choose to be apolitical, that in itself is a choice. It becomes a choice, and I'm not, every actor or musician or baseball player, should you run for office? Not necessarily, unless you really are hearted in the cause that you're standing up for. It's not a personality contest. But if you believe in something, you must stand up for it. Otherwise, nothing changes.
It's funny. The older I get in life, and it reflects how my attitudes about the business is. I was watching Michael B. Jordan talk yesterday, and just fighting for more diversity behind the scenes, and not just in front of the screen, and more than just inclusion writers, and just having real voices being heard. It's, to me, well, for me personally, you know, I was trying to do that with Dr. Ken after Community ended, was to have a predominantly Asian American cast, and that was, you know, what was my mission more than anything else. And it felt it's still to this day is the most fulfilling project I've ever done, because it was created by me, and it was, but also just to have that representation on screen. And what I love about, by the way, Greenleaf is, well, the season 5 is about to premiere.
Yes.
And it's an amazing show. You're amazing on it, and it's just to really, really love your character. I mean, basically, it's I feel like the, you know, I mean, you are Greenleaf. You are the bishop. You're bishop, and you're. I feel like your range of performance, from, you know, being the patriarch of Greenleaf to, you know, also on a silly show like Community, your range knows no bounds, and you can, it's just through your skill that you can weave through. But you are, I tell you, it's an amazing cast, and your performance is utterly transformative. Like we saw the episode of, I think the title of the episode was "The Day of Reckoning." On that, man, that was, I think, is one of the most powerful performances I've ever seen you do. It was just it was a great tour de force performance, and it was, I don't know, I could just feel every word in your body, and I don't think anyone else could have pulled it off like you. I just love your, not even a question, I just love your range.
I appreciate that, man.
I'd like to say,
all I want to know is, can you teach me how to act? That's all I want to know. I guess I'm just trying to say, you know, can you be, you know, just on your downtime, just give me some tips. That's just really it. But there are,
when I would see Keith and see all the different things he could do, it just really pissed me off. And because I was like, oh, fuck, the guy's really talented, and I wish to God I could do shit like that.
A lot of fans are asking, like, what's your favorite do you have a favorite Elroy?
Oh, well,
moment?
let me say, Ken, before I spoke to my friend Kate Bowler, who is literally the expert on mega churches in America.
Uh-huh.
And I was talking to her about Greenleaf, and she was like, it pretty much nails how mega churches, it's very honest about how mega churches work, and the politics and things like that, and they don't shy away from it. And and I was like, that alone, just to see that part of, because there's not shows that are honest about what happens behind the scenes at churches, or mega churches at all. And so I know there's, because it's, as you, Greenleaf is not a comedy, and so I was like, oh, that's so great. And it was like, why aren't there 12 of these shows? Because you're 60 episodes in, with showing no signs of slowing this series down, other than when you collapsed on stage. Well, at the end of your sermon, I was like, well, I guess Keith's going to a new show. And and then you walk in, like, they're like, oh, you're back. And you're like, yeah, I guess it's going to be okay. And no, wait, I just spoiler alert it. So sorry. But yeah, it really, watching it, I was like, oh yeah, this really nails this culture that is ubiquitous in America. And it's just incredibly well done.
Thanks, man. I I wanted to do it because I used to want to be a preacher, and so I get to live out a fantasy. I mean, that's a great gift, but also because it is so respectful of the church and the culture, and which is certainly very important to the Black community.
Yep.
And it doesn't, usually a lot of these kinds of programming was send up the church, or mock it in some way. Mm-hmm. But the real the real truth is, it's a family drama. The family business happens to be church, and these people who are extremely human also are rooted in their faith. So, good people do bad things. You pick fruit from the tree of knowledge where you that you've been asked not to.
It's like your character is a self-aware moral compass. You know you're flawed, but to see a character so self-aware, because a lot of acting, a lot of comedy, and especially is just not having self-awareness. But to play a character so
you got
in
that
tune
nailed,
with himself, yeah.
I think when my bent on Bishop is when the first day of the first season, when his daughter comes back to bury her sister after 20 years, he is willing to face whatever has brought him here thus far, and he knows that it has not always been rosy. It has not always. He may be complicit. He's not, but indirectly. He knows some things have gone down that he just didn't know about, and chose not to know about. And now he's willing to face whatever that has to mean. Now, when those things walk into the room, it's one of those, well, God, does it have to be now? I mean, I said I would, but does it have to be right now? So
I totally get it.
So we have that, and that's what I think keeps it interesting, because
it's very human. I mean, that's just very. That's how I I think when I get philosophical about my life, like my own day of reckoning will come. It's just right now. I'm not ready yet. I just got some. I mean, it's just I just got a.
Just got some Heineken Light.
I just got I had some takeout. I was going to eat that first. I thought it was
North Face.
I thought it was a reckoning on my own time. Can we reckon on my own sketch? Right.
That's what the show. It's so great because everyone is human, and there's this stereotype, especially I think about mega churches, or that they're like, oh, you have to appear to be perfect, or people think, oh, Christians they think they're perfect, and it's like, no, they're the most fucked up, and we're all the most fucked up, and that's what it's so great. It is that it shows that, and it's like, it's great. It's
well, that's I say that all the time too. Is like the preacher is just a man. You know what I mean? I mean, at the end of the day, he puts his pants on one leg at a time like everybody else. Now, is he held to a higher standard? Yes, and he should. But when they fall from that standard, they should be held accountable just like everybody else.
Oh, yeah.
Now, it is church. And as we see across the board, because as the Catholic Church has been called out and called down, and we see how flawed priests are, and we see in certain synagogues what happens behind closed doors, in every across the board. Our religious leaders, some of our spiritual leaders are just men. And are flawed like men are flawed. For some reason, many times they are given a pass that if it were you and me, we wouldn't get, because there are some things, you read every day about things that happen from the pulpit or behind the pulpit, and these guys still have churches. You kind of go, wow, how does that happen? Because if I got busted doing that, I wouldn't have a job or the prospect of a job.
Yeah.
I mean, what's his name?
Ken Jeong?
No, let's not leave me out of that.
Sorry.
He was the televangelist, the televangelist that got caught with the prostitute.
Oh, Jim Baker?
Jim, yeah.
Well, no, not Jim Baker.
Which one? Jerry Falwell? I mean,
Jimmy Swaggart.
Jimmy Swaggart?
Swaggart, Jimmy Swaggart. I understand he's back on TV.
Well, Swaggart's he's dead, right? Is he alive? Jeez.
I think so.
I'm just yeah.
Oh, I got a development deal with him. I mean, I know.
Or you look at that Tilton.
Oh, Jimbo? Yeah.
Well, Jim Baker, look what he got caught with prostitutes and all that, and he is back on the air in a huge way.
And I think he just get busted for something
that for pretending he had a vaccine.
Yes, it's
he's a doomsday prepper.
And it's like, I mean, come on, fellas. I mean, and that's how God gets such a bad rep.
Yes.
I mean,
ridiculous.
That's not God that does that. That's the evil of men.
Do you think God laughs when
they do it under the guise of using God's name? But hopefully we can we'll begin to see through that too. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no. I when I watch Jim Baker and he'll quote the Bible and then go, anyway, who wants to buy 1 year of pancakes? And then he brings on a oil barrel full of pancake dough, and he's like, "This is almost as good as 4 months stroganoff." And I was like, "What is happening? Why? What? America is ridiculous." Do you ever, with the Greenleaf cast, like at cast parties, do you ever go like, "Guys, we're gonna watch Requiem for a Dream. You're gonna love it"?
No. I don't even think my wife had seen that.
Really? Oh, that's good. That's the fun
when
one.
When it first came out, Saul Williams is one of her best friends, spoken word artist, and he saw it and told her about it, and she was appalled. She was like, "How could you do that?" And I said, "Honey, when I got the movie, I told you I'm playing a character that I don't usually play, but you got to respect this guy. I mean, he's not your nickel and dime. He's not selling dime bags on the corner. He is really selling drugs to your lawyer, to your stockbroker, and he's not getting busted." And it doesn't excuse him at all, but I made an executive decision in my life not to play certain kind of stereotypical black man, just a drug dealer to be a drug dealer. I mean, getting busted, cussing on the corner, all that kind of bullshit. But I liked him because he's smart. He's very smart. He doesn't get busted, and all the guys that are his clients are they're not just stereotypical guys. They're the guys you would think, oh, they don't do that kind of stuff. Oh, yes, they do. And you know where they get it from? They come to me for that. And you know why? Because I have quality products and I'm good at what I do. And it's the funny thing is, again, in the politics of images, when people talk to me about my character and they talk, oh, he's so evil. Oh, he's so slimy. I didn't knock on her door. I didn't knock on a strange man's door to buy drugs and to have sex with him and go to a sex party to get drugs. I didn't do that, but I'm the slime ball. I mean, it's a very interesting dynamic.
That movie's incredible.
But I loved that movie because just Darren as a filmmaker, I never felt that he was judging anyone. I felt that he was presenting a slice of life. He was presenting these people in their everyday existences. And it was for our observation, because we see them all the time. You know, Ellen Burstyn, you know, we see her sitting outside of that building, and you never know what's going on in her head. And when you see what's going on in her head, it's like, oh, holy shit. I didn't want to take an aspirin for a month after I saw that movie. You know, it was like, holy, you know, I mean, and for people, and if you've ever had any relationship to addiction at all, and you understand the nature of how it runs your life, how these guys, they you know, young, strapping guys, they would work hard, diligently, to make enough money, to buy enough drugs, to not work for a few months, and just get high. I mean, it's like, whoa. And then the lengths and the depths they would go. I mean, when with the girl with the arm, with the wound, the sore in her arm, you know, and you still want to stick a needle in that festering sore. I mean, it was like, oh my God. So I thought the presentation was brilliant. You know, I mean, in fact, one of my friends took her nephew, and he had a kind of scared straight moment, because you know, he was a young fellow who was getting in drug trouble. So she took him to the movie, and he sat with his hat down the whole time, you know, because you know you could, and he did change after that. He did have a, and that was one of the great values for me of that movie.
Wow.
Because, like I said, it just presented the life. The choice is yours. That's why, now I think of acting as my ministry, because, sometimes I play a guy who you absolutely may admire and want to be like. To me, as long as you know him, as long as you recognize, I know that guy. He's my neighbor. He's my uncle. My father was like that. That makes me feel good. But sometimes you play somebody who you absolutely never want to encounter in life. I hope I never see that person. I hope I never have an encounter with that person. To me, that's God working in your life, because you don't have to experience every dark, nasty thing in order to know I shouldn't go down that way.
I'm just flashing. I'm just flashing back. I'm sorry. I'm just flashing back to season 6, where I think we're doing a study group scene, and you're asking Danny Pudi, you're asking Abed, so where are they on the bites now? Are they giga? Mega? And he goes, and then Abed goes, Tara. And you take off your glasses. You made a wonderful meal out of Tara. God damn it, they did it. God damn it. and then you had the presence of mind. You literally, like on camera, you only show one eye. It's just like this one insightful eye. I can't even mimic it. You're just kind of like, you did one take where you're just moving around, and we're watching. I mean, I definitely ruined some takes, but the way you just added this gravitas, Tara. God damn it, they did it. God damn it. God damn it, they did it. And he just looked around, and it was, and then I just love the. I remember I was just thinking about you and Joel together. Wasn't there this
Hard Drive and
Hard
Wingman?
Drive and Winger Man or something like that?
Hard Drive and Wingman, yeah.
We ended. I loved seeing you guys together. That was one of my favorite episodes of that season. Was the virtual reality. It's all because of your voice in the VR. You know, yeah. Worlds can move worlds.
Worlds within worlds. Stop saying worlds within worlds.
Yeah.
That, Dan says that's his favorite season. He has said season 6 was his favorite. And
I think.
So I guess the movie theory is out, huh?
We don't know. I think
it's never been more real. I think, according to after we did this table read of a script from season 5.
Pre-Keith David. Pre-Keith David.
Yes. So it was. We did a table read and Donald was there, and Donald said on camera that he would do it, which I guess now puts it back on Dan to write it, who only has 80 episodes of Rick and Morty to write. So I don't know how it's going to work, but if Donald can do it, and then just so you know, Ken is available and
very available. I'm like ready to go. I'm like ready. I'm like so ready.
I would. We'd love to do it, but you know how it works, Keith. That when someone says go build a spaceship, you'll be like, all right, well, here's what we have to do, and it just takes a little bit more time. But yeah, I think Dan wants to do it. I think so. We would love to.
I just think it'll be a great. Nowadays movies are probably more like an hour and a half, but I think it'll be a great 2-hour adventure.
Oh yeah. Especially with Elroy involved. I remember the Karate Kid episode in the Yahoo year, and we're doing this stage adaptation of the Karate Kid, and I played Miyagi, and then you're just going, get up. just withering on your voice, just like they dedicated a whole single to you. Get up. And we just there's so many. Do you have a favorite memory of like Community? And you've just done so many things. It's just I'd be remiss to ask you just because of the Community base here.
The stuff with the glasses. I love that virtual one when I had to with that makeshift thing coming on.
You got Jim out of there.
Yeah,
who was stuck in virtual world.
Jesus wept, right? That was Jim kept saying.
Jesus
wept.
Keith, when I looked at your IMDb, when we have had if you look at Ken's IMDb, it'll say 85 things. It'll say 85 things with 4 projects, and then it would say 40 of them were watchable. But
does it have a watchable category in IMDb?
It does. It has a watchable.
It says watchable. Really?
I know, it's weird. Yeah, and you suspect it to be, way more than, less than 40.
I didn't know they would editorialize on IMDb.
I don't know how it works, but anyway, that's what it says, and there's nothing you can dispute to say that it doesn't. Anyway, no, but yours says 323 credits, and I was just like, dear God, I've never seen it like that. And then they're like, and there's the Tony nomination in 1992. And then you start going through you said it. You already said was The Thing your third job or something?
It was my first movie.
Okay.
And I was it was early. I was 3 years out of school.
At a Juilliard.
Yeah.
And I had just come off of a tour with the acting company where I saved $1,000, and after I paid my rent, that $1,000 went to my speech teacher training because I didn't have the temperament to wait tables. So I was trying to figure out what else I could do. So in 1980, I took a course in shiatsu, so I can do 8 hours of shiatsu massage. I'm not certified, but I'm trained to do 8 hours of shiatsu.
Wow.
And then I became a speech teacher in 1981. And that's when I got my first movie. I mean, I had done a little TV. I had done a TV movie, but I got completely cut out of it. I had a nice little part, little featured, day player.
Mm-hmm.
But in the final analysis, all you saw of me in that movie was my torso as I crossed camera, because my head was cut off and my legs were cut off. So it's just, and I only know it because I remember in that scene, as I was, he was, the other character was talking as I wiped past him. And the funny thing is, all of my mother's friends were like, "Oh, I saw your son last night." I said, "No, you didn't see me." I mean, unless you recognize my chest. I mean,
his nipples were incredible through that shirt. Wait, and did you find out? When did you find out you were cut out?
When I saw it.
Oh.
Oh man!
I was like, because I was waiting. It was Roots 2, the second generation. I was actually I actually went up to play Alex Haley as a young man before James Earl took over. I didn't get the part. Damon Evans got the part. Damon Evans was on the Jeffersons.
Jeffersons, was he
and
Lionel?
He had
yeah.
TV experience than I did. He'd been a TV actor. But the producer and the director liked me, so they gave me a day player. So I got a part. It was my first, foray into movies at all. And what I remember, I only got to do that one day. It was my first day on a movie set. I think it was a Friday, because for lunch we had grilled shrimp and prime rib. And I thought, oh my God, I want to do this.
That's amazing. You still remember that. It's funny how like your first set, still remember every minute of that. That's just great.
I couldn't believe, like, oh, you guys feed us? Oh, we get free food all day long? Oh, and then I would
good stuff and good food. I mean,
I'd bring a fucking backpack and load it up, and I still do to this day. Wait, so then how? What? Everyone, people know, but how then to get the audition for the thing? How do you even get that audition?
Well, my agent at the time was very diligent about getting me movie auditions, and
that's
I remember
a good agent.
I went up for another part, and I didn't get it. And then the casting director said, "Well, you can come back and audition for one of the guys in the crew." And at the time, my agent was like, "No, you're going up for the lead part. If you don't get that, we're not going to do anything." So I, in the beginning, I was going up for a lot of lead parts, but I was also going up against guys like Morgan Freeman and Raul Julia. We had the same agent, and I was always the group old. Even when I was 22, I was the group old man. I was going up for those old parts. I mean, my first job out of school was understudying Raul Julia in Othello. So
wow.
Jeez.
I mean, it's probably the thing is you consider your big break. In
when I did the thing, after the thing, I got sort of honorable mention. It was as I remember it, the movie did not do well critically. I mean, they dogged John out. I mean, and
it's such a good movie.
And
it's
I thought, oh man, I'm going to have a life in the movies. Well, I didn't work again in the movies for 4 years, and that was Platoon.
I was about to say Platoon was, that's...
After Platoon, I got at least one movie a year for the next 38 years.
Wow.
But that 4-year gap, I was like, oh, wow. But also since then, just to show you how wrong critics can be, the critics dogged it, but it's become a really serious cult classic.
Oh yeah.
I mean, when I go to the Comic Cons and stuff, The Thing is one of the most prolific things that posters that I sign.
And it's royalty of horror films. I mean, it's
and credit to Andrew Hobson, our producer, who's a huge cinephile. He said the thing opened up against E.T. opening weekend. So that's...
was it the opening weekend? I remember E.T. opened before we did. Oh, E.T.
Or
opened,
maybe Andrew could chime in.
E.T. opened a few weeks before, but for like 2 or 3 months running, it was number one. It was because we opened.
Got it.
The thing opened in July along with Poltergeist.
Wow.
And there was something else, and everything paled in comparison. I mean, they weren't paying no attention to anything else.
Yeah, and now look.
Yeah.
I mean, E.T. was terrifying. I think it was actually more terrifying than the thing. Those weird eyes and the finger. Ugh.
Yeah.
It has and E.T. has Ken's body, which was really weird.
Okay, let's just, you know what? Now we're
what?
What? Now we're going.
Wait, and then I know that I'm getting into the weeds with this, but then getting Platoon, which again is like this murderer's row of actors in it, and obviously Charlie Sheen at that time was the hottest thing on the planet, and you've got Willem Dafoe in it, and you've got these just heavy hitters coming in. How did you get that? Did Oliver Stone see your work, or did you have to read for it?
I did. That was another great gift in my life, because Mary Cahoon, she used to be a casting director at the Public Theater. She was now an independent casting movies. Now, a year or two before, there was a movie called The Platoon.
Oh, really?
And I went up for it, and I went to read for the role of Doc and somebody else. So I had to read 3 characters, and then she said, "Listen, no, I want you to read for the role of King." And I said, "Okay." And she said, "Take that home and come back." Took it home. The project got shit canned, and nothing happened. So about 2 or 3 years later, this other script comes up called Platoon, and I never put the two together. I just, because you know how titles go. Right. But when I got the sides, I was like, there's something really vaguely familiar about this. So I went in, and again, I'm reading for Doc. This time I'm reading for Oliver. And so I read for Doc. He said, no. He said, look, come back tomorrow. I want you to bring me back King. And I said, okay. So I came back, and he said, okay, as far as I'm concerned, the role is yours. It's really good to see somebody who looks like what I wrote about. And I'm like, okay.
In the room. In the room.
And in the room. Then he said, are you willing to lose a little weight? I'm like, yeah, so
Ken gets that.
I would say it. Yeah, I was like, absolutely not. I will gain weight on the set. That is my proclivity. So I would say.
And then my agency had just signed a new agent, and he's the one that sent me up on that audition, and I couldn't remember his name. And so I said to Oliver, I said, oh yeah, my agent said he knows you. He told me to tell you hello. He said, what's his name? I said, oh shit. And he goes, yeah, sure, right. Just tell him to make me a good deal on you. And I said, well, I blew that, didn't I? That was just stupid. I just couldn't remember what his name was.
What's his name?
I had only met him on the phone. I had only met him on the telephone, So about an hour later, I called him up. I said, hey, well, this is what he said, but, it's Hollywood. I don't believe that shit. I mean, it would be nice. I mean, I want the part, but who knows? An hour later, he called and made the offer. And so it was my first experience where somebody in the room offered me the job,
Wow.
kept their word, and I got the job.
Wow.
That is so rare.
I was about to say that never happens. Never.
You only hear, I got the job. They offered it to me in the room. They did all that, and then you're like, oh yeah, sorry.
Yes.
Yeah. Has that happened to you, Joel? That's happened to me where I've been.
Oh yeah.
I've been in a room where you're like, director was like, can we give him the job now? And the producer's like, just wait. And I'm like, literally, I'm right here, guy. I can hear everything. Should I just leave? Literally,
like,
they're arguing. The producer and director are arguing about me in third person. I'm like, should I go? Or do you want me to just stay here and just stand awkwardly?
Like, we're sorry, Keith David got the role.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. That's fine. I went to Keith.
Keith, when did the voiceover stuff really kick in?
You know, one of the things I was really passionate about was doing voice. So I always wanted to do documentaries and like cartoon voices. And when I was coming up, it was definitely the White Boys Club. It was just not. There were not very many black men doing them. Adolf Caesar was one of the premier guys.
Quite a name.
And there was another couple of Charles Turner. He was one of the guys that was doing them, but there wasn't a whole lot, and I just kept wanting to do it and kept, and so my agent kept sending me out, and then one day, in fact, I went up for an audition, and Adolf got the job. So he was like, okay. And then they called me back because they wanted to replace him. For some reason, they wanted to replace him. And that's how I got my first big voiceover campaign, was replacing Adolf.
Wow.
And then from there, it just kept happening. If you go out enough, you start getting requested. And that's, that was a beautiful thing. And, it's probably been 30 years now. So
how did you connect with Ken Burns?
I had done some work with his brother, Rick, on a documentary about New York. And then they were looking for, and I think I had done some like voicings for jazz. I had done some voicing for jazz, just some of the incidental voices, and then they were looking for a narrator, and I said, well, I can do both. I can disguise my shit. And it was like, no, you're not going to be able to do both. But so I had to go in and re-audition, and and at first I was like, well, but he knows my, and it was really about whether or not we could spend that kind of time together, because it was a 6-month gig. And
wow.
And we did. We got along fine. And I love Ken Burns. I love Ken Burns to life. He taught me so much about what it is to be a narrator. I mean, because I grew up with guys like William Forsythe and William Conrad, Percy Rodriguez, Ossie Davis. I mean, these are the voices that I just love, these guys. I mean, I wanted to do that. And so Ken really nurtured me and taught me how to do that. And so now I get to do it. I get to do it, sort of regularly. I mean, between cartoons and documentaries, and so that's my favorite stuff to do.
I can't tell you how excited Dan Harmon was to have you on the Pillows and Blankets for a documentary. I think even
that was really kind of fun. I mean, that was the first time I ever done anything like that. Because they wanted it. I mean, do it like you're narrating Ken Burns. And I'm like, okay, I know how to do that. You know,
it was to the point, I think, on the DVD commentary, Dan can't stop talking about you, and literally it's just like time stood still even in the commentary. He just was, Dan was really in his own world of praise for you, So naturally, the other actors got jealous. We all got jealous.
Yep. We're pissed. Still mad.
We're still
waiting
mad.
for
We're
it.
still mad. So that's how we were. So it was. But no, that's what's amazing about you, Keith. Is there, a lot of times we meet people along the way in this business. Oh, you've done everything. You literally have done everything, and we haven't even gone to now to a new generation of, we're talking about like gamers and talking about, with gargoyles, like you say. What do you get noticed for now most, whether it's voiceover, gaming, or movies?
A lot of Gargoyles fans.
Yeah.
But with the talk of Spawn coming back,
Yeah.
Spawn fans, and those are two of my very favorite characters. And of course, I loved Dr. Facilier.
Man, you just
Was there any conflict between doing Halo and doing Mass Effect?
No.
They don't. There was no. You can't be. You're the guy in Halo, and then yeah, it's fine on Mass Effect. They were fine. Microsoft was.
They were fine. Yeah. It came up so they were such disparate times,
That.
And it's Keith David. If they can just get Keith David, I think that's where we all want to be. And
Good luck, Ken.
Yeah. But the season 5 premiere of Greenleaf, that's at the end of this month. Is that right? End of June.
On the 23rd, coming soon.
When did you finish shooting that? Was it right before COVID came in?
No, we actually finished that. It was, way before COVID. So we didn't. I was actually shooting in New Orleans. And they sent us home because they were afraid, that people were going to get sick on the set, and
You were filming another project, and
yeah,
got it, yeah.
I was finally getting my chance to play Dracula. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, in a movie called Black as Night. So we still have to go. We still have to finish it.
Oh. Are you the lead?
I'm one of them. It really is. It's about my character, but about these young people, a young couple who they kind of get together, and her mother becomes one of my cronies. And I start turning homeless people and like crackheads into vampires, and they become my army, so I can take over New Orleans.
Yeah.
Man, I had a. Do you have to wear contacts as a vampire? As
I did,
Dracula?
yeah, I did. I mean, and the teeth, and it was nasty.
Wow. Keith, have you ever seen a movie called Vampires Suck?
Yeah, well, it's a movie. Yeah, it's a movie. Okay, all right. Joel's just getting
Ken.
into.
Do you want to talk about it?
All right, I want to talk about it. It's just like Platoon. It actually was the original script was called The Vampire Suck, and they had written a role for me, and they're just like, you don't have to go, you don't have to. No, then all of a sudden it got shelved as titles. Often they change, and it came back to me. Vampire Suck. They're like, wow, you're Ken Jeong. You suck. How about these vampires that suck? I was like, offer only, baby. Well, you suck. And I'm like, okay, I got the part. No, you suck. Did I get the part? You suck. So that's my story, and I think it's just as good as Platoon. So I think that's my own. It's my own.
Right up.
But in that one, I did play a vampire, and I had wear those god awful red contact lenses. And, And I think it wasn't fully rinsed with saline yet. It was still in disinfectant. And so my eyes were red behind the red contact lenses, and it was burning on day one. And it was just, just respect to people who have to wear that constantly, like on any set, those contacts. It's just, so any actor wearing contacts, rinse.
Yeah.
Rinse.
See,
That's all I have
you
to
guys, actors in movies, we have it hard.
Rinse. And then
Rinse
take
your
home your fourth meal in a backpack like Joel McHale.
I have piles of that stuff here.
Well,
When hand sanitizer hit, when everyone's like, "Get your hand sanitizer," I was like, "Don't worry, I have 400 travel size. If you need any, let me know." And tissue packs, I've got tons of them. Really sad.
I really appreciate. We all really appreciate you, coming on, Keith, and just having you. And it's.
It was fun. Anytime. I'm gonna have to go because I got to take my daughter to the farmers market.
Oh,
wow! Name drop.
I have daddy duty.
Which one do you go to? Which farm?
On Laurel Canyon.
That's the one that I'm going to go to after this too, and I'm not kidding. I live right by it. Maybe I'll see you there.
Really?
Yeah.
All right.
I go there. I try to go there like once a week, obviously, because it's only once a week.
Not me. I'm gonna eat some cookies alone in my den. So enjoy your health. But I'm just
yes, indeed. Good seeing you guys, man.
Great seeing you, Keith.
Keith, thank you for coming on, and it's always good to talk to a legend.
Always great. Much love to you and your family, brother. Thank you so much. All right.
See you all
David.
next time.
See ya.
See ya, man. Good to see you.
Peace.
Right on.
And he's
the greatest.
He's the best. Just
we're speechless.
Yeah,
guys. We didn't even talk about They Live. We touched on it. But
I knew there were gonna be stuff I forgot. They Live.
People are gonna be
something
pissed
about
that.
Mary. Barbershop, like it's all coming back, and I didn't want to be a question fest, I mean, he's also a friend, he's also a colleague who we've worked with, and I don't think we've had anyone on the show with his
you would need a Ken Burns length documentary to talk about all this. We didn't talk about him working with Whitney Houston. We barely touched on his Tony nom for the Jelly Roll Morton musical. I mean, the guy can do it's so incredible what he can do and the range.
And when he's on set, he's exactly like that. I mean, he comes in with just quiet, humble, confident, boom, just nails every take. And
what do you think that would be like for you if you were like that?
Yeah, I'm loud, insecure, and cocky. So it's a little bit. I gotta give up a different vibe.
It does.
I don't know what I'm doing.
That's what I do.
That's what I do. Did I get it?
A lot of the time, I would walk in and be like, I said all those words in a row correctly.
Yeah, yes.
Fucking nailed it again. Those were all the words I was supposed to know. But he would just come in. He's one of those guys that just came in ready, and just a gamer. Just like, oh, you have a different speed than everybody else, and it is such a pleasure to watch.
Yeah, and to have him, in the Community universe, just I just like certain things he would do, just acting wise, like taking off his glasses.
Yeah,
I always loved him taking off his glasses, and it was like he was analyzing scenes, and it was just within the scene, so it became almost like Keith David's like meta work, analyzing his own movements, and there are just always these little. I remember, I think Elroy got in an argument with Britta about Donkey Kong. It was something. Do you remember that scene?
Yes.
About like how he invented Donkey Kong before, but it was another name.
Stolen.
It was kind of like like, I don't know, like Snake Barrel or something. What it was, like Donkey Kong my ass. It was Snake Barrel. It was something like, and then Elroy snaps at Britta, and then Britta goes, I don't know. It just there was just always, what I love about Keith is just he just always added just a deeper layer to his performance that really added to season 6. It's funny because I always think season 2 is where the show really kind of, I felt like or end of season 1 found itself, but season 6 is a gem. I mean, for me personally, as Chang, I always felt like season 5, season 6, just as an actor.
Ken, I'm going to compliment you, so just
okay,
let's just let this happen. But when you're getting bit by the cat, it is so funny. It is so funny. I know that guys, I don't know if we should go on podcasts and just compliment each other, but it is so funny when you got your hand in there and you're just like, okay, this is a real mistake. And his teeth are...
That worked. That wasn't my choice, because my choice was to have the tension and like, okay, it's going, because that's what every actor's instinct was. That was all Dan, where he was like, okay, his hands is clawing my flesh right now. It's there's nothing I can do about this, but it's a point. And when I rewatched it recently with my kids, they for the same reasons you're laughing, they would laugh at the way I was just throwing away every line and then come in with this really bloodied hand.
She was like, what are you guys all doing in the nurse's office?
Well, this is
it was sublime. I love that man. Pisses me off how talented he is.
Just a flood of memories right now. Just like, we really...
Boy, what a flood, Ken.
Yeah.
Are they all getting jammed up right at your mouth?
I mean, it's sometimes when you're, when you're doing a TV show, when you're in the thick of it, you don't have time to really like assess and reflect, and then but at certain moments, like in season 6, you were like, I can't believe we're working with Keith David. We're working. I mean, it was, and I think Dan, had that mentality as well. It's like we can't believe that we got to work with Keith David for a season, and he was just such a wonderful person to work with. It was just always the way he was like the I don't know, the humble legend that was just always on set, and
man, can he bring it? He just brings it every time.
And it was effortless. He had great chemistry with everybody on the set, and it was like he understood the show understood him, and there was just a mutual love that I think that's what makes season 6 even more special, because you incorporated new characters seamlessly, and I think that's kind of the sign of a good show is when you can when you can that often goes unnoticed, but when you can seamlessly
we had lost three series regulars. We're gone, and
right.
Wow. And I liken it to like when the Mariners lost, Randy Johnson and Alex Rodriguez and Ken Griffey Jr., and then we went on to win 116 games and ultimately not make it to the World Series. But the analogy just, it ends there.
The analogy there.
To come in and to have those guys come in, and Paget and Keith were so, they are assassins. They're Navy SEALs as far as how highly trained and skilled they are when it comes to what they were doing and with their acting. And it was like you said, it was just like we hadn't to beat. And that's why Dan has said it was one of his favorite seasons. And
now,
too bad, because Donald did not go on to do anything. Poor guy.
Well, Well, thanks, Joel. Thanks for.
Good to see you again.
Good to see you. Yeah. Yeah, it's good to see you guys again, and thank you guys for watching and listening, and really,
I'll
yeah.
come over and give you a haircut, okay, bud?
Okay, sounds good, guys. All right, see ya.
Yep.